She was left behind. Until a human made her heart beat again, the heat was unbearable. Every breath she took felt like swallowing fire. The dry wind scraped across her cracked lips and synthetic skin, whipping sand into every crevice of her failing systems. Her limbs twitched, half buried beneath sun-baked rubble, her optics dimming from the overload of glare. Leora 7, half organic, half machine, lay broken in the dust. Her silver and blue armor was scorched and torn. Sparks flickered across the exposed wiring in her neck. Her right leg didn't respond. Her internal system screeched warnings: power low, vitals unstable, coolant near boiling point. This place had no mercy, no water, no shade, no backup, and worst of all, no one left to save her. She'd survived the ambush by sheer chance. The attack drones had come at dawn, slicing through her unit's perimeter before they even registered heat signatures. Her squad had scattered, but in the open desert, there was nowhere to hide. Leora remembered the screams, the flashes of plasma, and then darkness. Now she was nothing more than debris in the sand. A failed asset, an abandoned experiment, a forgotten soldier. And then a shadow moved across her face. Boots, not drone-clawed, not insectoid, human. She blinked against the searing sun, optics focusing just enough to see the figure kneel beside her. A tall man in battered Terran armor, white plates dust-covered and heat-warped. His face was rough, sunburnt, streaked with blood, but his eyes were sharp and alive. "Damn," he muttered, pulling off his helmet. "You're still breathing." She tried to speak, but it came out as static. He moved fast but gentle, checking vitals, patching a coolant line with a quick seal. He slid a shade over her eyes and adjusted the internal pressure in her suit. His touch was efficient, but it wasn't cold. "You're not going to fry out here on my watch," he said. She tried to hold on to the sound of his voice, then everything went black. She woke to the hum of a mobile field shelter, one of those collapsible units the Terrans used on long-range rescue missions. The air was cooler now, recycled through old filters. Soft light glowed from a makeshift ceiling panel. She shifted slightly, feeling synthetic fabric against her skin, a hydration pack strapped across her chest, wires softly pulsing in her neck. He sat beside her, helmet on the floor, head bowed, one hand gripping a med scanner. He didn't look up. "Took me a while to stabilize you. Half your systems were fried. You had 2 microfractures in your cranial plate and a burned-out joint actuator. But you're lucky. Your central core stayed intact." She stared. "You fixed me?" He gave a small nod. "Name's Jack Rayner. Terran Rescue Corps. Sector 7. She blinked. "Why?" He glanced at her. "What do you mean, why?" "I'm Delkin, a hybrid. You weren't supposed to intervene." He smirked, rubbing grit from his cheek. "Lady, I didn't ask. The sand who you were before I dragged you out of it." She paused. "Most wouldn't bother." "Yeah," he said. "But I'm not most." Jack stayed close over the next few days. He ran diagnostics on her systems, fed her water through a bioconverter, recalibrated her neural dampeners when the heat made her black out again. He scavenged parts from wrecked drones nearby, matching them to her hybrid circuits with surprising precision. But it wasn't just repairs. He spoke to her, told her about the desert moons he'd patrolled, about Earth's blue oceans and golden plains, about his daughter, back at Mars Colony, waiting for him with drawings of spaceships and dreams of stars. Leora mostly listened, watched. He laughed at his own stories, cursed at faulty connectors, hummed low when the silence stretched too long. One evening under the blood-red dusk sky, she asked, "Why did you really stop for me?" He didn't look at her, just tossed another handful of sand into the fire pit. "Because I couldn't just keep driving past a body half buried in the dirt and pretend." Leora sat just outside the mobile shelter, legs folded under her, arms resting on her knees. Her systems buzzed softly, background diagnostics running, stabilizing. The sun was setting behind the craggy red cliffs, casting long shadows over the sand. The heat hadn't left, but it had softened, replaced by a dry wind that tasted like ash and old battles. Jack worked a few meters away, kneeling beside a broken Terran scout rover, trying to pull out its internal power cell. His sleeves were rolled up, arms dirt-streaked but steady, focused. "How long was I out?" Leora asked, her voice stronger now. 2.5 days, he replied, not looking up. "Had to keep your core temperature down. You were frying, under all that metal." She blinked slowly. "I remember heat, pain, and then your voice." He paused, glanced at her. "You said I wasn't gonna fry on your watch," she said. A small smile tugged at his mouth. "Guess I kept that promise." She looked away, her gaze tracing the dunes stretching toward the horizon. "Why didn't they come back for me?" Jack didn't answer immediately. "I don't know," he said eventually, pulling a scorched wire free from the rover. "I thought you might." "I don't." Her voice was sharp, then softened. "I was part of an elite recon team. Delcan, Command Unit 17. We were sent here to extract a dormant signal source buried in Sector K9. Then the ambush hit. I sent the distress call. You're sure it went out?" "Yes." She stared at the sand. "My signal was clean. Shortwave." "Burst!" "Encrypted Delcan military grade. Someone received it. Then maybe they chose not to respond." That silence again, thick, bitter. "Your own people left you," Jack said, tone low but not cruel. "And I'm the one who dragged your half-dead body out of the dirt." She flinched. "I didn't mean it like that," he added. "But it's the truth, isn't it?" Leora stood slowly, her balance still shaky. Sand crunched beneath her bare feet as she walked toward the fire pit he had built. Simple stones and scraps of fuel cells now flickering blue with synthetic flame. She stood there for a moment, then asked quietly, "Why do you keep helping me?" Jack didn't move from his crouch. "I told you already you needed help." "That's not what I meant." He sighed, dropped the wrench, stood up. "All right, you want the real answer?" She nodded. "Because when I found you, I saw someone the galaxy tried to erase. I've seen that look before, in the mirror, after too many missions where I came back alone." Leora's jaw tightened. "So you see yourself in me?" "No," he said, stepping closer. "I see someone worth saving, and maybe I just wanted to be the kind of man who doesn't leave people behind." Her eyes met his. Jack was close now, closer than before. The air between them felt heavy with something, unspoken. Not romance, not yet, but trust maybe. Or the beginning of it. She looked down at her hands, still scratched, metal fingers still twitching from nerve feedback. "I don't even know who I am anymore," she whispered. "I'm not fully Delcan, not fully machine, just something, built to serve, then thrown away." Jack didn't say anything for a moment. Then he knelt in front of her, picked up her hand. Careful, deliberate. "You feel that?" he said, placing her palm against his chest. "Heartbeat, human, fragile, but it's still going, still fighting." She stared at her hand resting over his armor. "You've still got a core too," he continued. "No matter what they wired into you." She pulled her hand back slowly. "You talk like the war's over," she murmured. "It is, at least for now. You Terran, you're strange," he chuckled. "You're just now figuring that out?" "I mean it. You don't leave people behind. You don't ask for compensation. You don't take credit. That's called being decent." "No," she said. "That's called being rare." Later that night, as the stars blinked into existence above the desert sky, Jack brought her an old data tablet. "What's this?" "News archives, mission reports, audio logs. I figured maybe you'd want to see what happened after you blacked out, maybe find some answers." She took it slowly, brushing a layer of sand off the cracked screen. "Thank you," she said. "You sure you're ready to know?" "No." Her voice was quiet. "But I need to." He nodded and walked away, letting her be. Leora sat near the fire, the blue light of the tablet casting soft glows across her metal cheekbones. Jack watched from a distance, not intruding, and for the first time since waking in the sand, she wasn't just surviving. She was beginning. The desert was quiet again, too quiet, the kind of silence that made memories crawl up your spine when you weren't looking. Leora sat cross-legged on a rusted supply crate outside the camp's perimeter, her eyes fixed on the dead horizon. Durindi. Her hands, the data tablet flickered, screen cracked, battery low, but the message still played. This is Commander Revek. Pulling remaining units. No signs of signal source. Delkin Asset Leora 7 presumed lost. Authorization received for shutdown of retrieval protocol. Proceeding with core extraction at fallback coordinates. Her fingers clenched. The playback ended. The voice faded, but the betrayal echoed. Presumed lost. They knew. They left her, anyway. A part of her had expected it, but expecting and accepting weren't the same thing. Behind her, the soft crunch of boots on gravel. Jack again. "You good?" he asked. She didn't turn. "You knew they abandoned me, didn't you?" "I had a feeling." He sat down beside her, not too close. Not touching. Just there, she looked at him. "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because it's not my place to tell someone they were thrown away. That's something you have to hear for yourself." She stared at the sand. "So what now? You gonna hand me over to your command? Tag me as salvage?" Jack gave a humorless chuckle. "You think I went through all this trouble just to sell you to a scrapyard? I've seen Terrans do worse for less. Not this one." She looked at him again, searching his face. His jaw was tight. His eyes were tired. But there was no deception there, no agenda. Just truth. Jack reached into his jacket and pulled out a small, half-burnt photo. A little girl with curly brown hair and a big smile. "My daughter, Ilara." "Mars, colony," he said. "She draws pictures of alien animals and asks if I ever meet any that talk." Leora stared at the photo, then back at him. "Does she know what you really do?" "She knows I try to keep people safe." "That's enough for now." She hesitated. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because you need to know something, Leora. You're not the only one with skin in the fire." Later, Leora walked alone into the canyon west of camp. Her sensors picked up faint energy signals, leftovers from the drone ambush, burn marks, melted rock, and something else. A strange trail of ionic residue, unlike anything she'd seen before. Her instincts kicked in. She followed the trail until it led to a half-buried metal casing in the sand, round with engraved alien glyphs. Not Delkin, not Terran. Something else. Her fingers brushed across its surface. It lit up. She yanked her hand back. The casing whirred, then sank back into the sand, disappearing like it had never been there. Gone. She stood frozen, systems buzzing. "Jack," she said quietly into her comms. "I think I found something." By the time Jack reached her, the sun was dipping low, casting deep amber across the canyon. Leora stood with her back to him, scanning the sand. "What did you find?" he asked. She turned. "Something buried, alien tech. It responded to me." His brows pulled tight. "Responded how?" "I don't know. It scanned me. Then it vanished." "You think it was watching?" "No," she said. "I think it was waiting." Jack looked around, uneasy. "We need to move camp. If there's something still active out here, something not Delkin or Terran, we're not safe." "I've never seen tech like that," she said. "But it knew I wasn't fully human. Do you think that's why your team left you?" She paused. "Maybe. Maybe I was always just a key, not a person." Jack's hand brushed her shoulder briefly. "You're not a key." She didn't pull away this time. "Then what am I?" she whispered. He looked at her, his voice low and firm. "You're someone who survived what should have killed her. Someone's still asking questions. That makes you more human than half the commanders I've served under. Her throat tightened. No one had ever called her human before, not without mockery. She nodded once. "Let's move camp," she said, voice steadier now. "If something's watching, I want to see it coming." That night, after they relocated to a ridge overlooking the canyon, Leora sat beside Jack by the fire. Neither spoke for a long time. Then she broke the silence. "When this is over, what will you do?" Jack shrugged. "Same as always. Go where someone needs saving." "And me?" He glanced at her. "That's up to you." She tilted her head. "You think I'm worth saving?" He met her gaze. "I think you're worth knowing." She turned back to the fire, her expression unreadable, but she didn't walk away. And neither did he. The wind had changed. Jack noticed it first. That dry desert heat that once rolled across the sand now carried something colder. Not in temperature, but in feeling. Like pressure building in the air before a storm, even though there wasn't a cloud in sight. He adjusted the antenna uplink, hoping to catch a signal back to orbit. Static. Nothing. Still no comms, he muttered. Leora stood nearby, watching the horizon. Her systems were steady again, her body functional, but her mind? Still fractured. "Do you think they'll send someone now?" she asked. "Your people?" "No," she said. "Yours." Jack looked at her. "I didn't report you." Her brow furrowed. "Why not?" He tilted his head. "You think I'd pull you out of the dirt just to throw you into a debrief room under sterile lights?" She said nothing. "I didn't save a weapon, Leora," he added. "I saved a woman." That made her turn, and for a moment she just stared at him, confused, soft, almost vulnerable. The light from the rising second moon caught the soft blue glow beneath her skin, the etched circuitry across her cheekbone pulsing faintly. Beautiful, in a way she couldn't even see. She sat down beside him, quiet. "You really believe that?" she asked. "I wouldn't be here if I didn't." Later, while Jack scavenged for energy cores near the edge of the ridge, Leora took a longer look at the canyon floor. Her internal sensors kept pinging something beneath the surface, some kind of buried infrastructure, impossible to map. She crouched down, digging her fingers into the sand. Beneath the topsoil, metal, more alien tech. This time she dug deeper. A hatch buried under just enough grit to be forgotten. As she traced the perimeter of the surface with her palm, the glyphs ignited again, pulsing softly in sync with her core. It was reacting to her, not Jack, not anyone else. Just her. The hatch hissed and split open with a smooth mechanical hum, revealing a tunnel, deep, dark, cold. Jack appeared behind her. "You opened it?" "I think it's been waiting a long time." "For what?" She looked at him. "Me." The descent was slow. The tunnel spiraled downward into ancient alien construction. Metal so old it had fused with rock. The walls shimmered with light-reactive alloys. And in the distance, a soft pulsing, sound almost like a heartbeat. Jack held the light. Leora led the way. "You sure about this?" he asked. "No," she said. "But I have to know what this is. Why I was drawn here." They reached a chamber, circular, humming with energy. At the center, a glowing core suspended in magnetic fields. Symbols etched into the walls spiraled outward like constellations. Leora stepped forward, and the whole room reacted. Lights shifted. The pulse grew louder. The floor lit beneath her feet. Jack watched in awe. "It's a key. This whole place, it's keyed to your DNA." "No," she said slowly, voice trembling. "It's keyed to what I was built to become." Back at camp, after the tunnel closed behind them, Leora sat in silence, staring at her hands. Her voice shook when she finally spoke. "My entire unit was just cover," she said. "The mission was never about extraction. It was about bringing me close enough to activate the relic." Jack frowned. "You're saying they used you?" "Worse," she said. They made me for this. Jack crouched in front of her. Leora, look at me. She didn't. Hey, he said again gently. You are not your programming. Her eyes met his, glass-like, faintly glowing. I don't know where I end and the coding begins. Then we'll figure it out together. She swallowed. Her voice cracked. I'm scared, Jack. His hand hovered near hers, hesitating, then slowly closed the space just enough that his fingers touched hers. Not holding, just contact. Me too, he said. But scared doesn't mean weak. Leora's breath hitched, and in that moment, she didn't feel like a weapon. She felt human. That night, she didn't sleep. She lay in her cot, staring at the stars through the camp's open hatch. Her mind swirled with ancient tech, memories, betrayal, and Jack. He didn't try to fix her. He just stayed, and that terrified her more than anything else. The next morning started with a hum, not from the camp systems, not from the wind, but from the ground. Jack jolted awake. His hand instinctively reached for his rifle. Leora was already on her feet, eyes glowing faintly, sensors pulsing. You feel that? She said. Yeah, he muttered. It's deep, low frequency. They ran diagnostics. Nothing from the comms, no satellites. But something under the canyon was awake again. Jack glanced at the ridge. You think that structure you activated is doing this? Leora didn't answer right away. Then quietly, I think I triggered something ancient, something waiting to be found. And now it's pinging back, Jack said grimly. She nodded. But not just down here. She turned the datapad around. On the screen, an unknown signal burst, directional, tracked to orbit. Something or someone had heard the pulse. 2 hours later, they saw the shimmer in the sky. A sleek black craft cut through the upper atmosphere like a silent blade. No markings, no ID, not Terran, not Delkin. Jack lifted his scope. Not ours. You? Leora shook her head. That's not Delkin military. It's something else. The ship didn't descend fully. It stayed just above the clouds, hovering like a predator circling prey. Watching. Waiting. Jack backed away from the ridge. We need cover. If they're here for that relic, or for you, we can't be in the open. Leora's voice was tight. They won't just scan, they'll deploy. Then we move. They packed in silence, quick, efficient. Jack kept checking the sky. Leora kept scanning the pulse. And yet, through all the chaos, something strange settled in her chest. Not fear, not panic, but a kind of clarity. Jack had saved her from death, helped her recover, let her unravel in her own time. And now he was risking his life again, not for a cause, not for duty, but for her. Not the weapon, not the relic. Her. By sunset, they'd relocated into the broken wreckage of an old mining crawler, rusted, scorched by old firestorms, but shielded, hidden. The pulse from underground had faded to a whisper, but the ship above remained. They're not here by accident, Leora said as she sealed the crawler doors. That signal was a beacon, which means they've been waiting too, Jack said. He sat down, unhooking his chest plate. Sweat soaked his shirt. His arms were bruised, scarred, still healing from the last recon job. Leora watched him quietly. You know you could have left me out there, she said. He looked up, raising a brow. We're still doing this? You could have. You still could. Jack leaned forward. Leora, if you think I'm going to walk away now after everything we've been through, after everything you've shown me, then you're not as smart as I thought you were. She opened her mouth to protest, but he raised a hand. Let me finish. She blinked. I've served under people who would leave a teammate bleeding just to make it back faster. I've watched whole planets burn because command wanted clean optics. I'm tired of orders. But I'm not tired of you. Her breath caught. He didn't say it with heat, Not with desperation, just truth. I don't know what you are, he continued, or what that alien tech down there wants from you, but I know what I see in front of me, and I know what I'd fight for. The silence hung heavy. Finally, Leora whispered, Jack, I'm scared of what happens if we make it out of this. He gave a small smile. You and me both. She stepped closer, not touching him, just close enough to feel the gravity. I wasn't built to feel anything, she said. But I do. With you. Jack exhaled slowly, his voice rough. Then we hold on to that. We let it be real. Whatever this is, we face it together. She gave a slow nod, eyes never leaving his. He didn't kiss her, and she didn't ask him to, but they sat there side by side, under flickering lights, holding a silence more intimate than anything spoken. Outside, the desert wind howled. In orbit, the black ship began to descend, not in search of survivors, but to claim what it believed was finally ready. The first blast shook the crawler like thunder in a coffin. Jack threw his body over Leora instinctively as the metal walls groaned and buckled. Outside, a second explosion roared, closer this time. Sand flew against the viewing slit like a wave. Crashing into glass. They're not scouting, Jack growled. They're cleaning house. Leora pushed him off, not harshly, just fast. It's a surgical sweep. They're targeting heat signatures. Then we need to move. Now. She nodded, already pulling up her HUD. I'm rerouting my coolant system, going cold. Jack raised a brow. You can do that? I was designed to operate in stealth ops. You think I was just built for pretty cheekbones and a plasma rifle? Jack smirked despite the tension. You do have nice cheekbones. She rolled her eyes. Focus, soldier. They packed light. Just a signal scrambler, a med kit, and 2 rifles. Outside, the black craft hovered above the canyon like a vulture. Its hull pulsed with red veins of energy, alien and alive. Below it, 3 dark figures dropped into the sand, cloaked in armor that shimmered like liquid obsidian. They're not Delkin, not Terran either, Jack whispered as they crawled through the broken crawler shell. No, Leora said. There's something else. She scanned the figures. Her sensors fought to decode the signals, but failed. No heat, no vitals, just ocean. I think they're drones, she said. Part organic, not piloted. Then they won't hesitate. They don't know how. They made it down the back ridge, crawling under jagged outcroppings and twisted mining supports. The desert was still, eerily still, as if the world itself was holding its breath. As they crossed a narrow gully, Leora paused. Her head tilted. Jack noticed. What is it? The relic, she said softly. It's calling me again. She turned her head east, toward the buried structure they'd discovered in Part 4. The signal wasn't loud, it was a whisper. But it thrummed inside her bones. They came for the tech, she said. Not me. I was just the ignition key. Jack narrowed his eyes. And if they get to it first? She didn't answer. Because she already knew. If they activated it before she did, the whole canyon might collapse. Or worse, it might awaken whatever ancient machine had been slumbering under this wasteland for centuries. They reached the hatch, in minutes, still sealed, still quiet. Jack pulled out the signal scrambler and began jamming the inbound frequency. Leora touched the door. Her circuitry lit up, smooth gold veins running down her arms. I can open it, she whispered. But once I do out, it won't close again. You sure you're ready for this? No. Good, Jack said, loading his rifle. Means you're human. She smiled, tight, grateful. Then she placed her palm flat against the door. It opened with a sound like breathing. Inside, the structure was different this time. The walls pulsed with soft blue light. The relic core had grown, spindles rising from the floor wrapping around a crystalline orb in the center of the chamber. Leora stepped forward, drawn like gravity. Behind them, The sound of metal footsteps echoed through the tunnel. "There. Here," Jack said. Leora turned to him. "Jack," she said, "I have to interface with it, alone. The hell you do. If I don't, they'll take it. They'll turn this into a weapon. You don't even know what it does." "I don't have to," she said. "I just know it's not for them." Jack looked at her, really looked, and in that moment something clicked. She wasn't afraid of dying. She was afraid of becoming what they built her to be. He stepped closer. "I'm not leaving you behind," he said. "I know." And then she did something she hadn't done before. She took his hand, firm, unshaking. "I'm not doing this for the Delcan Empire," she said. "And I'm not doing it because I was programmed to." "Then why?" Jack asked. Her gaze locked with his. "I'm doing it. Because you taught me I get to choose." Then she turned, walked into the heart of the relic, and let it take her. Jack stood at the threshold, rifle raised as the drones entered. They moved in perfect formation, silent, deadly. "Come on, you bastards," he muttered. The first shot was fired, but it wasn't his. It was hers. The entire chamber lit up in blinding gold. The relic roared to life. Energy spiraled outward, lifting Leora into the air as her core interfaced with the machine. Her screams echoed, not of pain but of awakening. The drones froze, convulsing violently, systems crashing. Jack shielded his eyes. Then silence. Then a whisper. "Jack." He opened his eyes. Leora hovered in the air, glowing from within. Her armor was cracked, but her expression was calm, resolute. She lowered slowly, stumbling, but Jack caught her before she fell. "You good?" he asked, voice raw. She smiled, faintly. "I'm not what they made me." "No," he said. "You're what you chose to be." The relic chamber was quiet now. The drones had fallen like puppets with their strings cut, hollow and lifeless, scattered across the metallic floor. But the damage had been done. The structure trembled beneath them. Ancient systems buckled under. Strain, not meant to be awakened by a half-human, half-cybernetic soul. Jack knelt beside Leora, cradling her gently. She was conscious, but barely. Her circuits were flickering. Gold light shimmered under her skin, then dimmed, then surged again. "You're overheating," Jack said, scanning her with shaky hands. "Your core's not stabilizing." "It's okay," she whispered. "This was always going to happen." "Don't say that," he snapped. She tried to lift a hand to his face, but it dropped halfway. "I interfaced with something not made for Terrans, not for Delcans. It rewired me, Jack. It burned through the barriers they built into me." He stared at her. "You're saying it changed you?" "No." She gave a weak smile. "It just finished me." He couldn't breathe. "You think I wanted this?" he asked. "To save you just to watch you break apart in my arms?" Her voice was faint. "You gave me something my creators never did." "What?" "A reason." They barely made it out, before the relic collapsed in on itself. The moment they crossed the chamber threshold, the structure shuddered. Energy folded inward. Metal groaned like a dying beast, and in a final burst of golden light, the door sealed itself behind them. Gone. Buried once again. But something inside Leora had remained connected. As they trudged across the red sand under the twin moons, she leaned heavily against him, her body glitching with each step. Jack refused to let her fall. "You still with me?" he asked every few minutes. "Yes," she'd say. But it was getting harder to tell if it was true. They found an old drop shelter from a war no one remembered, half buried in dune, its solar roof still operational. Jack laid her down on the cot inside, wiping sweat from his brow, his arms shaking with fatigue and fear. He checked her vitals again. Her neural core was splitting, overloaded from the relic's data surge. If they didn't stabilize her soon, she'd lose control of her mind, of her body, maybe more. She stirred as he worked. "Jack," she murmured. "Shh. Rest." "I can't. There's something else." He paused. "What?" "The relic. It wasn't just storage. It was a warning. a memory bank from a species long gone. They left it here to be found by someone like me, someone not fully bound by programming or by politics. What kind of warning? Leora's eyes opened, and they were no longer glowing gold. They were dark. Something worse is coming. Jack felt the cold in his spine. A fleet, she continued. Artificial, not alive, not sentient, just programmed to wipe out anything that could compete. This planet is marked. He sat back slowly, and the relic activated a signal. When I bonded with it. You mean we just lit a beacon? She nodded weakly. I bought us time, but not much. Jack stood, pacing. So we warned command. Rally defense fleets, prep evacuation protocols. They won't listen. I don't care, I'll make them. Leora watched him, eyes soft. You don't have to do this, she whispered. He turned to her, furious. Do what? Stay with me. Don't you dare. I'm not what I was, Jack. No, he said, coming back to her side. You're more. You don't know what I've become. I don't need to, he said. Because I know this. Every time I wanted to walk away, you made me stay. Every time I thought I was done fighting, you gave me a reason to stand up. You still sound like a soldier, she teased faintly. No, he said. Now I sound like a man who's in love with the most frustrating, beautiful, half-alien woman in the goddamn galaxy. Her breath caught, and for once, there was no slow burn, just fire. He leaned in, not with hunger, not with desperation, but with need. Their lips met, soft, careful, like touching something fragile that still held power. She kissed him back. And in that kiss was everything unsaid, everything denied, everything that now refused to be forgotten. When they broke apart, Leora rested her forehead against his. You know you just kissed a ticking time bomb, she whispered. I've made worse decisions. Her voice dropped. I don't know if I'll survive this. Then we go down together. Her smile was small but real. Damn Terrans, you never give up. He grinned. Nope, it's the one thing we're famous for. 3 days later, the sky turned black, not from nightfall, not from clouds, from ships. They descended like shadows, enormous, silent, geometrically perfect. Machines built not for battle, but erasure. No pilots, no demands, no broadcasts, just cleansing. Leora stood at the edge of the desert basin, the wind whipping her white armor, now scorched and faintly glowing with the last of the relic's imprint. Her body had stabilized barely, but her mind it had never been clearer. Jack stood beside her, helmet under one arm, rifle slung low. He wasn't looking at the ships, he was looking at her. They're coming for the relic, he said. They think it's still active, she replied. They think you're still active. She didn't argue. Because he was right. Inside the old Delkin relay station, now their temporary command post, Leora uploaded the last of the relic's knowledge into the Terran network. Warnings, star maps, ancient attack patterns, a message burned into time from a civilization long dead. Jack watched the data stream scroll. Why you? He asked softly. Why were you the key? Because I'm not full anything, she said. I was made to serve both sides and belong to neither, a hybrid, a tool. But that also meant I could interface with systems built for neither race. And now they want to erase you. They don't erase people, Jack, they erase potential. He clenched his fists. Then they're coming for the wrong planet. That night, the final choice came. They had one shot, send a reverse signal, a mimic pulse, to draw the enemy away from the planet. The relic had stored an echo signature, a phantom pattern that could simulate a live beacon from deep space. But there was a cost. Someone had to stay behind to power the loop manually. The signal required biological cybernetic resonance, a match between organic thought and tech harmony. Only one person on the planet could do that. Leora. It won't kill you, Jack said, pacing. It'll just keep you tied to the interface. She shook her head. That means I won't be able to leave. Ever. My body will shut down anywhere else. I'd have to stay here, connected. Alive, but not living. His voice cracked. That's not a life. She smiled softly. It's a choice. In the silence that followed, Jack sat beside her in the sand, the fire casting flickers across his scarred jaw and haunted eyes. You taught me how to survive, she said. But more than that, you taught me how to want something more. He turned to her. Then fight for more. We'll find another way. There isn't another way. There's always another way. No, she said. That's what you believe. And that's why this galaxy needs humans. He blinked. What? You don't give up, she said. Even when the odds are stupid. Even when you've been abandoned. Even when everything says run, you stay. He swallowed. I stayed for you. She leaned in, brushing her forehead against his. I know, he whispered. Don't make me walk away from you. You won't, she whispered back. You'll fly. The next morning, the last shuttle lifted from the canyon. Jack was aboard, his fists clenched around the straps as the ship broke. Atmosphere, the desert shrinking below, and there, standing on the edge of the ridge, Leora, still, strong, watching him go. A golden light pulsed from her chest plate, the beacon engaging. A decoy signal launched into deep space, and the black ships, they followed it, every last one. Within minutes, the sky cleared, and Earth was safe. Weeks passed. The relic site was sealed by the Terran Accord. Jack filed 27 override petitions for Leora's extraction. All denied. Her body could not be moved. The interface could not be broken. Jack returned every time he was allowed. He'd sit at the ridge. He'd talk to her. Sometimes she talked back, through old comms filtered through static, her voice soft like starlight. You still think about the kiss? She once asked. I think about it every day, he said. Me too. 6 months later, the relic flared one final time. The signal changed. Jack raced back, heart pounding, and when he arrived, the chamber was open, and she was waiting. Alive. Untethered. How? He asked, voice shaking. I figured it out, she said, smiling. I rewrote the interface. Gave it a choice. He blinked. A choice? She stepped into the light. It wasn't just power it needed, Jack. It needed purpose. And I had one. You, he breathed. Me. They stood in silence. Then she reached for him. This time, there was no hesitation. She was never meant to survive, but he gave her a reason to live. And together, they gave the galaxy something it had almost forgotten: hope.